All right, what's going on, guys? Happy Monday. We've got a 15-game NBA slate, and we've got Monday Night Football, Bucks and the Chiefs. So if you want to just look at the basketball, you can go down, scroll with the timelines, and pick what you want. Or if you want the football, you can go to that. Or if you want them all, just continue listening. But before we get into going over today's slate, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. It's free. Helps me a lot. Put a thumbs up on the video. Comment down below with your favorite play of the day. So no NBA yesterday. I just wanted to focus on NFL. Sundays in the NBA, usually not a good day. Small slate as well. We only had 3 games. So today we get the full spectrum. So we're going to cover each and every game like we do. And then I'm going to give you my best bets. So Bucks and Cavs. We just saw this game in Milwaukee last week. And the Cavs ended up winning. See this line pretty reflective. Cleveland were plus money. And now they're -7. That said, team 7-0. Bucks are struggling. Don't play defense. I would say -7's a little steep. Maybe look at the over 230.5. I kind of like that. Or you can look at the Cleveland team total to go over. I want to say it's 118. So I don't mind that play either. All right, Golden State and Washington. So this one should be probably not too fun to watch. Golden State, very impressive. Without Steph, they have been very, very good, and I don't know how. But kind of hard for me to take the Wizards here, even though they're at home. 10 is still laying a lot, but this Wizards team sucks. So I guess Golden State -10, or I would lean towards the under 231.5. Lakers and the Pistons. Pistons have been a bit better than I thought, I'll be honest. Lakers away, kind of what we've seen is they kind of get a lead and then they kind of give it all back towards the end, late third, into the fourth quarter. But I feel pretty good taking the Lakers, a very rested Lakers, at -6.5, going up against the Pistons, who played yesterday, did get the W. But on a back-to-back against a well-rested Lakers, 6.5 just seems a little light. So Lakers -6.5 in this spot for me. Celtics and Hawks. Hawks played yesterday. Boston should be fairly fresh. -10. Can't really back away from Boston here. 6-1. This should be a pretty easy win here for Boston. So take the -10 in that one. I would also maybe lean towards the over. 2 very fast-paced teams that like to score, and Atlanta doesn't like to play a whole lot of defense. So if you're not sure about the 10, maybe lean towards the over 234.5. Grizzlies and the Nets. Nets coming off a back-to-back. This will be their back-to-back today. Grizzlies, just really the better team. I don't really know how. With all the injuries and everything they have going on, they have just been able to continue to find ways to win games. Ja Morant has been absolutely outstanding, which is pretty wild. But yeah, can't really back Brooklyn in this spot. I mean, Ben Simmons is still out. Bogdanovich is still out, although Simmons being out isn't a huge hit. But on the Memphis side of the ball, Desmond Bane's still supposed to be out. Jackson's still supposed to be out. Kennard, Smart, Vince Williams. I mean, I don't know how they're winning with all these injuries, but I gotta back Memphis in this spot. So this is a Memphis spot. We will have a play in this one. All right, next game, Kings and the Heat. Good old Kings and the Heat. Kings, I feel like the Kings should be better than what they are. They've actually been slightly disappointing to me in terms of their record. I feel like they do have a good team. Just got to play a little bit better on the defensive front. So this 227 is really high for the Heat. That said, like I said, the Kings don't play much D. So I would almost lean. It's really hard to fade Sacramento, but Miami at home, they're just a little different. They're a much better team. Eric Spoelstra at home, just really good. So I'd have to go Miami -2.5, but I really do like the under 227 as well. All right, next game, Jazz and the Bulls. Jazz are terrible. I mean, that is a terrible basketball team. They are the new Pistons this year. Chicago -7.5. I can't trust the Jazz, especially when they're away. I would have a lean towards the over 227.5 in this game, just because the Jazz do play at a pretty good pace, as do the Bulls. Jazz don't play D. So that would be my lean in that one. Knicks and the Rockets. Man, Houston just got absolutely demolished by Golden State. And then they ended up coming back somehow and taking it into OT, and then they lost. So there's that. I like this Knicks team. I still think they're trying to get their footing underneath them in terms of their new lineup and new rotations and things like that. But really hard for me to not take this team. I mean, Achua's out, Robinson's out, but it's not huge losses. Landau's game time decision. It looks like Steven Adams might play. Actually, he's listed as a game time decision, so could be playing. But yeah, I can't trust the Rockets. I know they're at home, but Knicks are the better team. -3.5, good value. Wouldn't really want to touch the over under. I think it's pretty well placed at 219.5 here. One of the bets I didn't take, but I was really leaning towards it was Sengun's under PRAs. It didn't make the card, but I was looking at that. So maybe if you could get 32.5, I like that. It's kind of 32.5, 31.5, somewhere in that range. I think the Knicks are going to do a decent job of shutting him down. His rebound line is 9.5. He's gone over that in like 5 straight, but the Knicks do a really good job of limiting rebounds to centers. They also do a very good job of limiting centers' points in the paint. So almost made the card, but I didn't quite put it on there. All right, Hornets and the Timberwolves. My problem with the Hornets is everything revolves around Melo. Like, does Melo have a good shooting night or not? That'll determine this 9.5 line. I think in Minnesota, he probably doesn't. So to me, it's a Timberwolves -9.5. It's just a tricky number, right? We saw Boston hit this, and then they played them the next game and then didn't hit it. So really tricky line. I would say maybe veer more towards like Charlotte Hornets team total under instead of relying on this 9.5 number. All right, Magic and the Thunder. Magic, they're in bad shape now with Banchero out for another couple, still like 3-4 weeks potentially. And then you got Wendell Carter's a game time decision. I mean, if he doesn't play, then you have the Wagners. Yeah, I just can't get behind this. So this is an OKC spot, but -12.5. Jeez, that's a steep one. It's like, would I put the Magic ahead of the Portland Trailblazers right now? And I don't think I would, actually. So lean OKC -12.5 or the over 215. I do think OKC is going to allow them to score. I think the Magic do score. I think they're worse defensively without Banchero on the court. So over 215 would probably be my play in this one instead of taking the 12. All right, Trailblazers and the Pelicans. Yeah, it's kind of a weird line. -3 for the Trailblazers. I mean, you got to go Portland. I guess maybe because back to back, they're thinking Zion might not play as much, or some pieces won't play as much. I don't know. Zion's technically listed as a game time decision, so he might be getting a rest tonight. The books have to assume that he's not playing tonight. So you've got you could have Williamson out, Herb Jones out, C.J. McCollum out, Trey Murphy out, and DeJounte Murray. That's great. Holy shit. And it's like you'll have a whole backup team except for Ingram in. But I don't know. I feel like Zion probably plays. So Pelicans -3. I mean, I can't fade them at home. All right, Pacers and the Mavs. This should be a pretty high scoring game. 234.5. I would almost lean towards that over. But I like Dallas -5 in Dallas. If this were in Indiana, I would take Indiana +5. So this is just more of a home court type deal. So Dallas -5 for me. Raptors and the Nuggets. Denver. Man, what the hell's going on, Denver? But that said, they're at home. I think Joker has a pretty good night. Denver -9.5. 76ers and the Suns. Pretty easy Phoenix spot. Like I said, the way I like playing Phoenix right now is they just typically get out to a very early start and then they kind of blow it away. So I like Phoenix first half on the point spread. So that way we don't have to worry about them having their little second half collapse. Spurs and the Clippers. I think this should be a pretty good game. Would actually lean Spurs. I kind of like the way the Spurs are playing right now, and the Clippers just don't have weapons. I mean, they need Kawhi back pretty bad. I mean, Harden is absolutely carrying the shit out of this team right now. So I want to say his rebound and assist line's at 16.5. I almost pulled the trigger on the under, but I think it's just so perfectly placed that it makes me a little bit nervous in this spot. So I would lean Spurs plus 4.5, maybe even take a little sprinkle on a money line. So let's get into our best bets for NBA today. So keeping it pretty light. I know we've got a big old 15 game slate. I just kept looking. I feel like the lines are fairly appropriately placed on some things. I may put some other plays out there, so check the pinned comments today. But this is what we're rolling with today. Domantas Sabonis over 12.5 rebounds. This is 13.5 on most books. You can get it on DK at 12.5. DeMar DeRozan over 3.5 rebounds. I would not advise playing both of these. I would say play one or the other. Same thing. It's just they give up a lot of rebounds. So I like this spot. Luka Doncic over 2.5 3-pointers made. I know he's been struggling with his shot. That's why we're getting a massive discount here. I know it's minus 148. You can still straight bet it, or you can put a dance partner on it, but 2.5 is a gift. So I will take it. It's 3.5 on most books. And these first 5 plays are all on DraftKings right now, by the way. Josh Hart under 4.5 assists is just a little high. He's going to end up somewhere in that 3 to 4 range. This is at minus 135 on DK. Santi Aldama under 12.5 points. The only way we get cooked on this is if he's just dropping threes. And if he drops threes, it is what it is. But minus 115 on DK. This is sitting at like minus 140, minus 150 on most books. So I think this is just misvalued. And then Zubac for the Clippers under 13.5 rebounds plus assists. A little bit of a scary line because there's a really good chance he's going to get 12 or 13 rebounds. So we just have to hope he doesn't get, 1 or 2 assists, which he has not been getting any assist whatsoever. So that's the reason why I like this line. So that is going to do it for our NBA best bets. Those are my 6 favorite. Let's talk a little bit of football. So we've got a nice little game tonight, BUCS and the Chiefs. I don't know about nice game. Nice game might be miswording that. It's probably going to be a pretty ugly game in reality, right? So let's see where the public, I never look at this, but I don't ever let this make decision making for me, but that's just me. So there is actually 17% of the money are on the BUCS. I mean, it's plus 350. So a lot of people like to take some sprinkles on that. It's pretty even mixed on the spread, 50-50. A lot of people are on the over of 45.5. I don't really have a lean towards the over, if I'm being honest with you. I don't love the over on this one. Again, I think it's just very appropriately placed. If we look at the defenses for these teams, I mean, Tampa Bay, they're terrible against the pass. 29th in passing yards allowed, 29th in passing attempts allowed, 27th in passing touchdowns allowed. They're very average when it comes to rushing. They're 19th in the league, averaging 132, or I should say giving up 132 rushing yards a game, 25 attempts, 1 rushing touchdown a game. Rushing yards per attempt, they're worse in the league. I mean, they're actually pretty bad, 5.2. So you could look at Kareem Hunt over rush yards. That's one I didn't, almost made the card, but not quite. But again, check the pinned comments. We might come up with some parlays or something later today where we might include that. All right, now on the Kansas City defense, they're really good. This might be one of the better defenses they've had in this little Mahomes dynasty. But passing yards a game, they're kind of middle of the road. They're 212.7. Passing touchdowns, middle of the road. But rushing, they've done a great job. They're second in the league, 82.3 yards rush. 5th in the league in rushing attempts, which makes sense, right? There's a high-powered offense. They're going to score a lot. Teams are going to throw. They're going to be a little more risk-adverse against Kansas City because you might have to go for some 4th downs that you normally wouldn't, because Kansas City is going to put some points on the board, very similar to kind of how teams play the Ravens, right? Yards per completion, they're sitting at 8th, allowing 10.6. Rushing yards allowed, they're sitting 2nd at 3.5. They're doing a good job of getting to the quarterback, 7th in QB hits. Where they haven't quite gotten it together is their sack rate. So they need to get a little more sacks. They are struggling a little bit in that 6.1%. That puts them 24th. So, but I think that's kind of part of the game plan, right? So they've got a nice little defensive coordinator there. Obviously, the head coach is a future Hall of Famer. But to me, we've seen this line drop. It was 9.5. It's actually 9 now. So we have seen a drop. I like Chiefs -9. I'm very confident that this -9 Should be okay. I mean, here's what we've seen from Mayfield without Godwin and without Evans. He's had to throw some guys where I think there's some timing issues, right? They're not on the same page when it comes to routes sometimes. I mean, he will throw a pick tonight. You can pretty much just bank on that. He's going to throw a lot, and he's probably going to throw a pick. He might throw more than one. We saw in the Saints game he had 3 picks in, I think, the first half. So pretty decent chance that Kansas City is going to score some points on the defensive front. I think Mahomes is going to come out and do what he does. Now he's got DeAndre Hopkins, so he's got a nice little weapon there. It's just more of a Kansas City spot for me. But let's get into best bets when it comes to NFL. Get you guys out of here. All right, so Baker Mayfield over 34.5 pass attempts. I just don't see a world where he's not throwing more than this. I mean, we just saw a lot of guys go over this line yesterday, and they weren't playing the Chiefs. So 34.5 kind of feels like a little bit of a gift. Bucky Irving over 32.5 rushing yards. I know I just talked about how great Kansas City's rush defense was. That said, they can't completely abandon the run. Bucky Irving has been pretty damn explosive. So I thought about taking his over 8.5 attempts, but I kind of like this line more. He can break one off. He can break one off for 15, 20 yards. He's going to get a huge chunk of this for us. I just like this. I mean, he's over in 5 of his last 6. The only thing that makes me nervous is this didn't hit. The only game it didn't hit was when they played Baltimore. I feel like we're kind of in a similar situation here, but I'm going to stick with it. Samaje Perine over 7.5 receiving yards. I like this just because he's very sure-handed. We've seen him be a nice little pass catcher for the Bengals, the Broncos. I mean, he's just very good on the pass-catching front. So I think we should see Mahomes go to him a little bit. We're probably going to need 2 catches. Maybe we can get away with 1. So it's a little sketchy just because we need 2, but hopefully he can get that for us. Patrick Mahomes over 4.5 rush attempts. So I'm kind of banking on the fact that Kansas City gets the ball and there's a couple of kneel downs. That would really help this number. That said, I think he can hit it without it. But that would make life way easier if we get a couple of kneel downs here. So, or maybe second half kneel down, something like that. Help aid this number. All right, last play, Xavier Worthy over 34.5 receiving yards. Pretty dynamic. I mean, you can probably get this on one play. I expect him to get a couple of catches tonight. I'm pretty sure I just misspelled the shit out of his name, so you're going to have to forgive me there. I just caught that early in the morning. But, yeah, no, I like his over receiving yards. So those are my 5 best bets in the NFL game. Like I said, pay attention to the pinned comments. Might throw a parlay or something out there today. So I am traveling, so we will be kind of on the road for the next couple of days doing these videos. But like I said, appreciate you guys tuning in. Give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Catch you in the video tomorrow.